people try to conflate humility, with, I think there is a kind of a big closeness between low self-esteem and humility too. People, something,
Yeah.
maybe they want to teach it, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ask them, this thing. He knows it, but he's trying to do you think
Undo
you
himself.
come out and show the blessing that Allah has given you, right? You know it. But in an humble way, alhamdulillah, I know AB, right? I can instead of I don't really know I know be a
بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن.
One of those things that came to my mind, while I think I was talking, is I see self-esteem in I've been trying to think about how to relate it with my personal life. So I think with respect to dunya in general, I think the way self-esteem can come to play is conquering your fear, right? Conquering your day-to-day fear in your academics, in school, for example, at work. So, and how to go about that it's both in dunya and the religious part is more about knowledge. I think I will mention that. So, for example, if you're at work, so a lot of people, I've realized that a lot of people, they are afraid of that boss or this boss, or and they will be so scared, and every single thing they want to do, they're always super cautious of what the next person would say or what the person that will review will say, and they will end up doing more mistakes that they would have even done if they were confident of themselves. I think one of those ways that you can conquer that fear is to have knowledge of what you're doing. Be good at what you do, right? Whatever you do, make sure you are very good at it. Make sure you learn it to the best of your capability. And by doing that, you will not be so worried. Nobody should be looking forward to getting suspended from their company or whoever, but you'll be confident that there will be someone else that will need my knowledge. So that's one way with respect to dunya. Another way is with still respect to conquering your fear, apart from having knowledge, is make sure you are doing the right thing. Make sure you are trying your best to do the right thing every single time. So at work, for example, you have the skills that it takes, and you are doing the best of your capability. If someone shouts at you, if someone put pressure at you, you are at peace in your mind, knowing that you are giving exactly the best that you're supposed to give. Right? That will boost your esteem. If someone asks you, why is this? You will not be scared to say, why is that? I don't really know if I have that much self-esteem, but I remember my last place of work, I was actually super junior then, super junior. But there was one thing I had then, which was the confidence. I don't really know if I still have that now. But one thing I had then, I remember there was this guy they brought, and it was one very experienced guy, and he just came and want to start, what do we call it? Is the engineering manager or whatever. Then he started rubbishing every single thing we've been doing for the last 6 months. So to my bosses, then they invited me to the meeting. And one thing that stood out, and the guy actually mentioned it when I was leaving the company, was that every single question that he asked, I had a reason for why I did it. So I was not scared engineering manager, I would rubbish everything. I knew we did what we did with the resources that we had at our disposal, right? And we gave our best to it. So even if you think every single thing we did is rubbish, we can still, defend what we did with the best of our ability. So that kind of boosts your self-esteem. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do less than what you were supposed to do. You gave it all your best. You tried everything you could try, and the results of what you did was there. So it gives you confidence. That's one thing. With respect to religion, again, it's still the knowledge part. Right. So being able to take away, when you have a lot of doubts in religion, you're not confident about it. Someone comes to you as a Muslim, why do you pray? And you yourself, you have that doubts of praying. There is no way you will be able to defend it in the best way. Right. But if you have reasonable knowledge and you are practicing it yourself, it will give you the confidence of preaching what you're doing. Right, and speaking fact about it, whether the person listens or the person doesn't listen, you could still present and defend what you're doing. So that goes across every other aspect. It's not about sadaqah, respect, these or maybe the ones that people perceive as good, like when we give sadaqah, when we give gifts to people, or the one that people perceive that, oh, they are doing too much or whatever. So when you have confidence in it, you have the reason why you're doing it. You can explain it. So whatever comes to you, it doesn't really matter, even if it's like the president or whatever. Why are you doing this? You are confident to present what you're doing because you know about it, you know what you're doing. You're not just following the crowd. So I think knowledge cut across both way and giving your best to whatever you want to do and ultimately relying on Allah, it will give you that confidence to do whatever you want to do without being scared of anyone, like any single person, wherever you are just confident that this is what you need to do. And whenever you are wrong, people correct you and you take the correction and you go about your way. So that's one thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, exactly. So I have two quite interesting points that I want to drop now, and they kind of link to two different tangents. So I'll try as much as possible to start one, and then let's see where it goes. So the first one is like with regards to confidence. There's something we've been talking about since morning. Like we're talking about like borderline with pride, like self-esteem. At what point does it become, oh, bro, that's not self-esteem anymore? And that is like, you're proud. At what point does it become like that? Personally, I think there is this hadith of the Prophet. I don't remember the wording specifically, but it says that the proud person is the one that is told that the truth and refuses to follow it. I think that's an hadith of the Prophet, and that seems to, if you look at it overall, it really, really, really does work. Like across both Fidin or Dunya. Like if as a developer, someone tells you, like Abdullah says, like, why did you do this? If you have the knowledge, and you say, oh, because of this, that is one thing. Oh, you should not have done that. Why? Because of this. Well, that's the correction. Is it right? Is it wrong? Subjective. A faculty. The other one, okay, in the deen. Oh, why are you doing this? Aha. So they're like, no, how can you be correcting me? I'm a senior sheikh. I have beard like Ibrahim or something like that. It makes absolutely no sense. So I that's one thing that just came to my mind. Just remember that hadith. So I don't know if anyone has anything to say about that. Like, what is that borderline? And how do you make sure that you don't become crazy self-confident? And the second thing that I would also point out is, why do people, when they see that someone is so confident, next thing they will say about him is, oh, that guy is proud. And deep inside, we know the hadith about he that has that atom of pride in him. Like, no, you have to keep washing your mind. Like, no, I hope I'm not proud. No, start grading yourself with, standards. Like, okay, the Prophet said this. I hope I'm not working this. Like, why? And how do we deal with those kind of things? Yeah. So, do we have anything to say about that?
I think as regards to pride parts, I'm not going to talk about all the things you mentioned. You mentioned too many things at once. And then you took a dig at me too. Anyways, as regards to pride parts, I think anybody can say anything about any other person being proud. And just like you said, I think it's more of a self-assessment thing. You know the hadith that says that anyone that has an atom of pride, because anybody can say anything. That one thing I've also noticed is that one of the things people use on social media these days to counter people's maybe if you say something, and then one of the easiest and laziest way to counter you is to attack you directly. Yeah, there's a particular name for it. It's called a fallacy of something. I can't remember the fallacy of whatever it's called, but it's one of the easiest way, and laziest is very, very lazy thing people do, and you see it a lot on social media these days. So I don't think because somebody says you are proud, it necessarily means you are proud. I don't know if you are getting me. So yeah, I think that's more of a self-assessment thing, and maybe people that are also very close to you, that you know that these people are sincere. It's not like they are trying to rubbish you or anything. I mean, those are the kind of people that you can take those kind of statements from, and then you also want them to explain it to you that, oh, okay, why do you think I'm proud, and then you also try to listen to them. So I was also going to extend that a little bit to, like what Rukoya said, that taking criticism is also important. Like, it's also another way to know if you are truly proud. How do you handle criticism? Although, there are different ways of criticism too. Like, there are stupid ways. Some people criticize people. If you do something annoying now, somebody will just, say you did something and then attack you instead of talking about what you did. But if somebody does it and the person, doesn't attack you and the person explains gently that, oh, this is something, I think it's, if you are not now able to take it at that point, then that might also be a sign of overdoing, or maybe of real pride. Maybe you are going beyond the boundaries. Yeah, those are the two things I want to say. Don't let me say too much so that other people can say, contribute. So,
Rokhaya, do you have something to say, Abdullah? Abdullah, it seems like you have something to drop. Nothing.
That's
Wait,
been
those vibes-
captured between you both. It has already been captured, like between you and Ibrahim. That's like basically everything.
I doubt it. Abdullah does not look like it. It looks like, yeah, I have like another
Right.
animation 4D hot stick. Drop it.
oh, I just remembered something else. I wanted to say, okay, I think what Hassan, or maybe a way to talk about that pride thing, is ego. I think pride and ego at a point can. I don't know what the difference between these things is.
What is the difference? Can somebody explain
I
to
don't
me? Because I don't know
I
the
don't know what the
difference.
difference is.
Okay, before we go to pride and ego, I'm sure Ukaya would.
That's
good.
if
Yeah.
Right, well, it comes to that. Okay, so I think one of those issues with personally, I don't like using the word self-esteem all that much. So because it's so easy to go overboard, to be honest, self-esteem, self-confidence, all of those things. I just prefer to use tawakkul, and I know what I'm doing. I'm trying my best and all of that. But self-esteem, self-confidence, it's a very tricky line. So, but in general, the advice for myself, right, and for anyone listening is we should always try to not overrate ourselves. Like every aspect of your life, every single thing, things you think you know how to do, things you think you don't know how to do, don't overrate yourself. There's this dua that Allahumma ja'alni shakuran waj'alni saburan waj'alni fi ayni saghiran wa fi ayni nas kabiran. Oh Allah, make me someone that is grateful, that is patient, and the point there is make me someone that to myself I see myself as someone that is low, right? And to people raise me like like I don't know how to say that in English. Like
I think it's humble, right?
Yeah, like make me humble to
Elevates
myself
me.
and elevates me, with respect to the way people see me.
No.
I think in general, we should, as Muslims, right, which is our first identity, so we should always try to, like, anything that we think we know and things that we think we don't know, we should never see ourselves as, it has been too much, because ultimately, wallahi, every single thing that we have in this dunya is like a gift from Allah. So someone that has a better brain than the other person, someone that has a better assimilation, someone that can run, someone that can code, someone that can design better Quran, all of these things, it comes with efforts, but ultimately it's still a gift from Allah. So the moment you see yourself like a minimal tobai, it's like you've peaked and you just start descending immediately. So I think that's what happened to Qarun, right? Qarun saw himself that he said, how did he say in Qasas? Qarun says, "Qala innama utitu ala ilmin Qala innama utitu ala ilmin indi aw lam ya'lam anna Allah qad ahlaka." So to the end of the ayah. So Qarun was like, he knows that he deserves it. Like he sees himself as someone like right? So he sees himself as someone, very worthy of what he was given. Because it was just a gift and a test from Allah. So, and because he was ungrateful to that, he ended up being swallowed, by as Allah decided for him. So I think in general, to not take time on that is that we should not see ourselves as, Nami be this in anything. So if Allah gives us edge on some things, we should just take it back to him and be grateful that, you are the one that gave me this. Don't let me be, don't let me go overboard in it. Like that's like the ideal akidah of a Muslim. When good happens to you, you go back to Allah. Alhamdulillah, alladhi bi ni'matihi tatimmu salihat. That's our prophet taught us. So you go back to Allah that, oh Allah, I give thanks to you that with you is like how you are the one that give like all blessings. Right. And if it's otherwise too, we still go back to Allah, alhamdulillah ala kulli hal, right? We still give thanks for every condition. So I think that's like whatever self-confidence that you have, whatever self-esteem, every single thing that you are able to do, just make sure you take it back to Allah. So because every time you are realizing that this is the last blessing, this is the last blessing, you would not find it easy to look down on anyone that does not have what you have. right? So if you see yourself and you know, actually I can code, like you will know yourself that, oh boy, I'm good in this thing. But I'm not being able to have had this. You might be rich and you know that Allah has given you like serious wealth. So, but what you will guide you from looking down at other people is realizing that this is not by your means, this is by Allah's blessing. So when you realize that, you will just know, okay, Allah is giving you to test you, and it's not giving that person, not because the person is not deserving of it. But if you don't take it back to Allah, you see yourself like, I've worked for 16 years, I've coded for, I spent this thing in that place and I gave, you just have a lot of reasons why you have that thing without realizing that it comes ultimately from Allah. Because if Allah doesn't give you one eye or one hand or one leg, or it would have been extremely difficult. So that's the thin line that I see there. We should always take everything back to Allah, and that we will not look down on anybody. Because I made an addition to the hadith that I was trying to quote, that the person that is I think all the hadiths that you all quote is like the same hadith, right? That the Prophet said he will not enter Al-Jannah, the person that has an atom of man kana fi qalbihi mithqala dharratin min kibr, or kama qala, that has like just a small weight of pride within him, that person will not enter the Jannah with it. And one of the Sahaba asked him that if someone likes his clothes to be neat and is that pride? Well, he said no, that the person that is that has pride is the one that does not accept the truth when it's being told and looks down on people. So we have to guide ourselves away from that thing. Whenever we are corrected, this is not right, this is right, we might not be able to follow it at that point, right? We might just be weak because we are human beings. Our iman go up and down, but we should know that goes up and down. But we should know that even though I'm not capable of doing this thing, I'm striving to get to this point from where I am now. I still agree that this is where I should be, not fighting against the truth, right? And trying not to look down on people. So may Allah make it easy for us. Too much time whenever I speak. I don't like it.
I want to mention one quick thing. It's not taking time, just very quick. So yes, we're taking it back to Allah, and I think also using it for Allah is a very important aspect. So like Allah has given you something, fine, you should thank Him. But I think I've read about statements of scholars that part of the way you thank Allah for something He has given you is by using it for His sake. So I think that aspect is also like an important aspect. So
I think it's already getting longer. I wanted to say that we mentioned one extreme, and then the other extreme of it, which I feel like I personally have challenge with, is like not having a high self-esteem. When you always feel like you don't know enough, and then you try to I don't know, you shortchange yourself in a way, you sabotage yourself, you shortchange yourself, and then there are opportunities that come, you just let it go because you feel you are doing enough. Or I think that happened to me a lot. And also because when you go from Nigeria to a place like this, I don't know, there's this thing in Nigeria where we just feel like the people in this part of the world are superstars, they know everything. But that's not how it's necessarily is. I mean, if we had access to the kind of things they had here, maybe we would have also been on that level. I think that also makes a difference. So there's a part of it that one shouldn't be too low to. I think I struggle with that, and I think one needs to take care of that and not going too low that people that don't even know half of what will now be coming and be making you feel like. And then at the end of the day, you might end up getting depressed and, getting into a situation that you just feel you are terrible. And you're not terrible, actually. It's just because of the way you are perceiving yourself. So I think that's also really, really important. That part is really important to have. So let me just quickly mention this. When I was coming to the US, I just wanted to have this because this is like real life example and some people might also find this useful. So I attended one webinar. And in that webinar, there was like a professor that maybe studied in OAU, but he's not a professor in the US. And then, so I asked him a question about, new graduate students going from Nigeria to the US. So what are some advice you would give to those kind of people in terms of how to deal with low self-esteem and all those things? I asked him that particular question. And one of the things he said was that you you don't shortchange yourself to, like I mentioned, and then you don't jump to, like, when you are in this situation, you don't jump like, oh, I know this thing, but at the same time, you don't talk down on yourself when the opportunity now presents itself for you to I don't know, for you to thrive, I don't know, for you to express that particular strength of yours. You don't shortchange yourself at that point. So, and you just try to balance it out, and you don't jump, and then you don't stop yourself down. So that was the advice he gave, which I think is a really great advice now.
Can I add one quick thing there about low self-esteem? So more like a question, more like a statement. The people that they ask that, for example, you know something, right? People ask you, like, do you know this thing? People try to conflate humility, with, I think there is a kind of a big closeness between low self-esteem and humility too. People, something. Maybe they want to teach it, something like that.
Yeah.
And ask them, this thing. He knows it, but he's trying to, like, do you think
himself
come out and show the blessing that Allah has given you, right? You know it. Right? But in an humble way, alhamdulillah, I know a bit, right? I can instead of I don't really know, I know I mean, maybe not a question, just like experience what I've seen people do. People lose a lot of opportunities.
True.
From that, right? Do you know this thing? Can you do this thing? Like, why are you trying to do like I cannot do it where you can do it? And the same thing goes with wealth too. Some people have, like, Allah has blessed them with maybe not very immense wealth, but some level of reasonable wealth. But they pushing themselves like koko. Yes. And you call it. So it's like you are hiding the blessing that Allah has given to you. You don't have to be about it. You can be humble about it. But it's not that humility that it's like you don't even have anything in your life. It goes to the way people present themselves. Some people have enough money to secure reasonable good clothes for themselves. It doesn't have to be overboard, moderate. But they will still want to, like, and some people are afraid of village people, right? If they people come after them, who the hell where is your tawheed? Where is your belief in Allah? Where is your belief that you do day in, day out? That nothing can happen to you except what Allah has ordained that it will happen to you. And people will be lowering their lifestyle just because they are afraid of one imaginary mama or baba that will come and attack them.
No.
Yeah, what's your guys' experience about this, or what do you have about it in general? People trying to, like, short level themselves.
Yeah, I think I do it a lot. I still do it, and I think it's really something I need to stop doing. Do you know what happened? I did a presentation in my lab this Friday, and I got like 2 people. My boss, my topmost boss, said the presentation was good. I mean, I was surprised I said the presentation was good, and then another of my senior people in the lab sent me a message, like DM, that the presentation was pretty good. I was surprised because when I was doing the presentation, I was like, I know this nonsense. So I this nonsense that at the end of the day they will roast me. Do you understand? But at the end of the day, people said it was fine. So maybe and I really do it a lot. That's not the first time I'm doing it. And I think Abdullah also, there was one time I messaged you guys about pushing out the course I did on this presentation design course I did. Do you know that was the same problem I had with that course? I mean, I just felt like maybe this thing is not good enough. This thing is not good enough. I mean, I was comparing myself to people that have been doing these things for like 10 years, 15 years, which is like setting a very stupid and unrealistic standard for myself. Can you understand? So I know I have that problem. And I think the first step in solving a problem is really understanding, is accepting that you have it. Because if you don't accept that you have it, and I think the other problem there is also confusing humility with low self-esteem. They are actually 2 different things, just like you explained there. I mean, it's Allah's blessing. Why would you be hiding Allah's blessing from? I mean, use it and just make sure that while you are using it, you are pleasing Allah with whatever you are doing. Yeah, you are benefiting people with the intention that, I'm benefiting people with, with that good intention that you want to please Allah, not another intention to that you want to show off or anything. Yeah, so I think that's really something I personally struggle with, and yeah, I think it's something I really need to work on. So,
I have a light example. It's quite funny. It's not something big deal. There was a day we came back from madrasa, right? And there was this brother that missed madrasa that day. So we were two that were coming back. And it was like me, I was going inside. So he asked the second guy that come and quickly explain what we did at madrasa. The brother was there, he understood it though. Well, you know that kind of humility. And I was like, you have opportunity to get reward. What you and you are doing humility. What kind of humility is that? At the end of the day, funny enough, he still didn't. I was the one that jumped on the opportunity. Like there is no proud there. You learn something in madrasa. Because you know like it's not that you've known it before. You just learned
True.
it. Like relaying what you just learned. Like you can be humble in the way you. I don't know. You don't need to be extreme. It's not even, maybe it's not even humility. We can't even call that humility. It's actually an opportunity that you should jump on. You know, by doing it, you'll get reward for teaching, someone else what you learned. And it will even solidify what you know. And if any student is listening to it, I think this will help students. One of the best ways that you can solidify what you've read is by teaching it to others.
No, absolutely.
Almost no better way, to be honest.
Absolutely.
It's like one of the top 3 ways that you can solidify what you've learned. Teach it to others. Anytime someone comes to you, do you know this thing? You don't need to be humble. Go me more. If you know it, you know it. Teach it to the person. By that, it solidifies what you already learned. This is getting too much. Yeah, I want to speak. Yeah.
So, what I have to say about what Ibrahim said, like with regards to self, like keeping oneself there, I think it boils down to one thing. It boils down to sometimes unnecessarily high expectation of oneself. That thing is a two-edged sword. It helps. It also kills. It helps sometimes when you're able to drive that thing out and finish it. Like I cannot settle for less. That's not so bad. Allah loves people that does their thing. They do the best when they do everything. That's okay. But sometimes one should know when to stop raising that standard, especially with stuff that are not necessarily. You don't really need it. For example, see that your course now, like you said, a failure in that line does not mean you are a failure in a way. Does not mean at all.
No.
So, and people that even do this, they say, "Oh, just push it. If it fails, good. You learn something from it. Move on." That's great. So, I think all in all, that's most likely, even for everyone, comes from when you have just sometimes unnecessarily high expectation of yourself. So we can see that is a two thing. Like I have no self-esteem because I have extremely high expectations of myself. So it's very, very weird. The second thing I'd like to talk about with regards to what Abdullah says, like, okay, let people know that you have money. I think that also boils down to what? Self-esteem. For real. Like it takes self-esteem to be able to let people know, yes, I know this thing, yes. Oh yes, I have this money, yes. And staying within the limits that Islam has already placed on us. Like, okay, don't be proud. So it takes a lot. Like, look at the person that said, okay, you understand this thing now. For example, one thing that at least with my short time working with people that are not necessarily Nigerians, one thing I know is that they understand the boundary of what they know very well, and they are very good at communicating it. Like, how pieces? I know how pieces. I can create them. Unfortunately, I cannot really scale them to production use, but I know them. That on its own, you already this guy knows what he's saying. But Nigerians, you think it's a 0 and 1 thing. You know the app or you don't know it. No, not like that. I don't know GPT. Like GPT-3, I can build GPT 1.0. If somebody that's not Nigerian, I can build GPT 1.0, but I cannot build GPT 3. Nigerians say, I don't know GPT yet, so I'm still trying to build some project. Come on. Don't push yourself down. I think it goes down to understand what do you really know. And number 2,
okay, I think I've now wanted to ask something there.
Yeah, maybe go on.
I cannot hear you. I think you're muted.
I hear you.
I had my mic off. Yeah.
Okay, you have hardware switch.
Yeah, I have a switch on my mic instead of using and I'm muting.
That's faster.
Please finish first.
Okay.
Yeah, that's most likely all that I have to. Like, even village people eat stuff like beliefs. Like, where is your kid? All of these things. It boils down to, do they even understand all of the way this thing works? Like, everybody can do stuff to you, and sometimes you shortchange yourself in that regard. And to be frank, as much as possible, and show people that yes, you have this thing. It opens doors. It opens doors to opportunities to do even maybe a little more sadaqa in places that you never thought you'd be able to do it. And a lot of other things like that. That maybe you're not flexing. You're like very, very, very critical sadaqa that will help a lot of people. We're not talking sadaqa like give me 5 now to shop rice. No. Sadaqa like we have to dig this thing. Like people need it, and you're like, oh, I don't have many people. We don't have like 100 million people. I want to know about those kind of sadaqa. But I already told them that Moran John there, wow. So don't bring this kind of stuff to your so, yeah, like
You shot yourself in the foot.
like that's one of the worst thing. Like unless they have a masjid that they want to build, or they have something big that they want to that we can't do, they'll just say no. Orange John there. Well, that's my.
You shot yourself in the foot.
You mentioned something interesting about giving yourself extremely high. I think Boy mentioned it too. Extremely high. What was it? Extremely high.
Yardstick.
That's like expectations.
Yeah, I think like a bit of what we've been saying, it's kind of like having some percentage of grants, just like so. To be honest, just like advice for myself, because to be honest, we all suffer from it. We could be like. But it might be different, like 10 but to some extent, some people suffer from very high, very low, in between. But you have to like constantly work towards it and try to like autofocus.
Yeah. Having self-esteem issues.
Alright, so my point is, to be honest, my point there is just like general advice for myself and for others is that if you want to deal with these things, I think one of the first ways to start is don't expect that you're going to be perfect at your first try. Right? Don't expect that everything you want to step your leg into, your foot into, you're going to like get it right ASAP. Like even 20-year experienced people in like software engineering, for example, they don't write a code that works immediately. Even if it's just a simple HTML file, there will be something that is like messed up. So don't expect that you're going to set your foot into something and instantly you're going to get like the best result you expected. Right? It's like step by step. So don't give yourself that crazy yardstick that you have to achieve. Instead, start like very small. I mean, this is advice that we hear every time, but the more we hear it, hopefully the more we'll try to like work towards it. Give yourself that short yardstick. Don't make it too long. Work towards that and get feedback. Feedback is like super important. You have to complete that circle. Don't just keep pushing out output without even knowing, I mean, this will not apply to everyone, but just don't keep doing something without getting feedback from people that what do you think about it. If you are like making a product, for example, or you are designing something, or it might even be your behavior, the way you behave towards people. If you are thinking that maybe you're not doing something right, get feedback, like Ibrahim said, from people that you can trust, or people that are close to you. Ask them why you think, why they think what they said is the way it is. From there you slowly build. Even the Sahaba, the Ashabu Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, people that were with him, they did not start out knowing every single thing about Islam. It took them like 10 years or 13 years for them to even, fully understand Tawheed. Before more things. So if the Prophet wanted them to be perfect just at start, maybe no one would, maybe we would not even know Islam today. But I started from a stage and they like built on that. And that's basically how we build self-esteem too. You start from somewhere, then you build on top of that and you get feedback from people. Yeah.
So before we conclude, just one last thing, because to be frank, just like Abdullah said, there's one part to it, there's another part to it. This one is not even about work. I think some people have physical ish self-esteem issues. Like they cannot talk in front of people. They feel like, oh me, I'm not fine enough. Oh me, I don't know how to speak. Oh me, yeah, there are a lot of things that also come. And to be frank, those things, as small as they look, they affect a lot of things. I don't know how do you want to propose stuff if you cannot really talk in front of people. In that regards, there are a lot of things that you can do about it. If, for example, you feel like you're not fresh enough, I wanted to do the classic joke thing, like, yeah, start getting fresh, but I'm not going to do that. Basically, I think, what do you think? You just like, you're homeless, start getting home. You're poor, you get money. You know that joke, now, the online thing. But that's not the point. If you think, okay, you're not handsome, yes, not all of us are handsome people. That's what Allah has done. Allah gives who He gives. It's okay. It does not make you any less of a human than anybody else. But clean up. Wear good clothes. We know all of the hadith that Allah loves what was beautiful. Hey, Allah is beautiful. Allah loves what's beautiful. Wear good clothes. You think people will think your mouth is smelling? Brush your teeth. Floss. Don't think about it too much. It's small by it's bit by bit. You think your name is not as handsome as every other person's name. Maybe your parents did not really do research, but they can't give you Ashokubu a name. Look for a new name. Hassan.
Hassan is
Ibrahim. For real, like it's not.
Sounds like you're everything. Hope these are not the things that said.
I think that's it.
Come on, don't go there. But you get the point.
I think maybe what you are trying to say is that number one is you should accept the way Allah has made you. So
Yeah.
Allah Himself said He has made us the best of ways, right?
Mhm.
Sweet.
Accept the things that you cannot change about yourself, and focus on the things that you can change. You know,
Exactly. Yeah, you really have to.
if you know that you cannot change this thing about yourself, stop worrying too much about what you think people think about it. You know, settle with it, dissolve yourself into it. You know, assimilate it before people make jest of it about you. Make jest of it about yourself.
Thank you.
Think about it. So when people talk say, help them finish it. But you know, with the limitations that we have, and we all have that limitations. It could be physical, it could be anything else. Try to settle with the limitations, accept the things that you cannot change, then work on the things that you can change. Khalas, you know, life is not hard. You see one imperfection in me, I can tell 100 in you too. And if I see one in you, I can tell 100 in me too. Just because you have one thing there that is better than me that I don't have here, I have other things that are better than you too. Why are you focusing on the ones that you don't have? Focus on things that you can change, things that are within your capability to strive for to change. Things that you cannot change, my brother, forget about it. Let people say whatever they want to say and get about your life. I in London, how many we have left to spend in life that we're working about?
I want you. You can even marry 100 wives. Just
Can you
marry
make
one.
taller than your height? So why are you worried about that?
You don't have money to even extend your legs. So what do you do?
If you have money,
Even if you have money to extend your leg, do you want to even extend your leg?
Exactly. The one that used to eat rice.
make yourself shorter. No, you are tall like ladder, and then what?
Thank you. Thank
Just
you.
settle the things that you cannot change about yourself. The ones that you can change, try your best. Let's move on.
And if you are in the market, alhamdulillah, we
I
have
think
had
it's
from we have had that ladies don't really care about those kind of things in case you are in the market. I'm just saying from experience. But no, I think this is a great place
If to respect to marriage, and to be honest, like that's an interesting, probably an interesting different conversation. Even to respect to marriage, the funniest thing about marriage is you will always get someone that will like you. You would always like be patient enough. Wallah, you'd always be.
Yeah.
You would always get someone that will like. If you think you are sure, there are people who are shorter than you.
I'm like the guy to talk about it. If that has to do with Nikah, marriage, like yeah, let's talk.
I don't know. We are probably saying that way because you are not married. So
Come on, guys, don't give me that one. Come on.
just like another thing. So
Rukoya is not here to support this. I don't support.
right, brothers, you would find, just like I said, just focus on the things that you can change. If you need like more words to have like a good life, focus on that instead of worrying about people are saying they want top people. Just look at your parents, look at parents around you. They got married sooner, they are short. You are probably even taller than them. Why are you so worried? Nothing will change in your own lifetime. It's just the way it is. People say things that, you know, there is difference between practical and theory. I want this, we want that, blah blah blah.
It
And
is
we
what
actually-
it is.
different. So it is what it is. It's what it is.
So on the closing level now, Jazakumullah khair for everyone that really this was a very interesting conversation.
Really
I think this is where we're going to stop, and we'll say Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن